great. All go, no wait. Champion, no debate. First place, go play.
Yo, what's going on? It's your boy, Mr. Humble Greatness in the building. Check it out. I got two lovely special guests with me today. Another episode of Humble Talks. I'm going to have them introduce themselves. Go ahead.
My name is Catherine Richenberger.
Okay.
I never knew it was pronounced like that. After all these years, I called it Reichenberger. Let's just start off with that. But my name is Quinn Duncan.
All right. So, man, I'm excited about this. I really am. Because I haven't had a podcast with two people of what you guys do. You know what I'm saying? So we got a lot of great stories here. We're going to share a lot. We're probably going to take up quite a bit of time. Not all day, but quite a bit of time. So, man, let's just dive into it. Who do I have in the middle? What do you do?
Yeah.
Tell the world what you do. What do you do?
Yeah, thank you, Angelo. So I work for Valley Hope. We are a treatment facility. We do residential and intensive outpatient and outpatient. I'm the alumni coordinator, so I connect with alumni after they leave and set up events and do community service projects and just.
You are the business. That's what it sounded like. Are you the business?
I'm a part of the business.
Okay.
We have a great team.
99% of it. That's cool. She was like, this is my position. I basically do everything. Okay, cool.
I definitely don't.
What about you, man? What do you do?
Oh, man. Depends on the day. Today, I was 10 minutes late to this. So,
He blasted himself already. I wasn't going to say anything. Go ahead. That's fine.
and the mispronunciation of my friend's name after 10 years.
Right. I can't believe that.
This whole time, I've been telling my kids, Catherine Reichenberger. It's Richenberger.
Yeah,
It's KK.
Yeah.
it is. KK.
That's just what it is.
It
KK.
KK.
Easy. All day.
Sean's wife.
Yep.
There you go. There you go.
Correct.
Yeah, that's a good question, Angelo. Professionally, my main focus is second chance bail bonds. I'm a bail bondsman.
Okay.
So we cover a lot of ground there. I'm a business owner. I'm a professional DJ. So do that. I'm hoping to expand into more, entertainment
Absolutely.
across the board.
Okay.
Vision, I'll maybe talk about that later on, is to have a venue space eventually.
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I'll be right there with you.
Yeah.
So I want the same
Looking
thing.
forward to networking it.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
All right, so what we're going to do first is KK brought in a flyer, so we're just going to tackle this right now. So August 5th, right? Saturday, 1 to 5 p.m. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Tell me what we're doing.
Why don't you take the lead on that?
Sure, thank you. So Valley Hope is partnering with Second Chance, and we are doing a back to school drive. And so this is for any families or kids that don't have any supplies and are struggling financially and need help. That's where we step in. And so
Awesome.
if your family needs any pencils, any kind of school supplies, please stop in on August 5th from 1 to 5. We're going to have the DJ. We're going to have music.
Are you DJing?
I'm DJing.
Okay, sweet. All right, go ahead. Go ahead.
And
Come through.
Yeah, for sure.
yeah, we would
That's
love
a big
that.
deal. That's
Yeah.
awesome.
Tons of fellowship, so please come through. That's where you drop off the items, and then you can pick them up as well. And we also have a Target registry, so if you cannot attend but you want to help, I can send you the link if you want. Hit me up.
I'll put the link in the bottom.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'll
That's
put
great.
the link in the bottom.
Yeah.
This is going to be a huge event. Where are we doing it at?
We're going to do it at the Second Chance office on the corner of Murdoch and Broadway. So
Okay,
if you guys
cool.
aren't aware, that's a Second Chance bail bonds, 705 North Broadway.
Yep.
I want to kind of add to it.
Go ahead.
So we are taking more than school supplies. There are kids that need sneakers. There are kids that need socks.
Oh, wow. We're doing kind of like a closed drive too as well?
Everything. We're not trying to replicate what's already been done with Convoy of Hope and everyone does a school drive. We just want to contribute. So
That's awesome.
we're hoping to partner with we're accepting community partners. Going to reach out to a few after this session actually today and invite people that want to come and set up a booth. The only thing that we ask if you come and set up your booth or table is that you bring a donation for the kids.
Absolutely.
So there's free food. It's a free event. We want to come fill a backpack for you and your kids. We'll be there 4 or 5 hours that day. So
Are we doing? Is this a all ages deal or what?
absolutely, yeah.
Wow.
From K through 18. So.
No excuses for not showing up.
None.
Zero.
None. And we'll accept any donation that you think is relevant towards a kid, going
Absolutely.
to school. So
That's awesome.
yeah.
All right, so I'm gonna tackle you again, right?
Yeah.
What got you started into this bail bondsman stuff?
It was by proxy. This wasn't the plan. Yeah. So I've been affiliated with Second Chance for years. We were doing ministry, actually. I was
Absolutely.
just talking to, Higher Ground about this. I left Higher Ground to come here. That's why I was late.
Got you. Okay.
actually doing a presentation for the clients over there. So we're going into every treatment center that allows us to, and doing presentations personally once a month, usually on a rotating schedule. But my background, I went to school to be an addictions counselor years ago. So I worked.
You went to school for that?
I did.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like
so,
I don't meet too many people that are like, this is really what I want to do.
Yeah. So
Okay,
I did. I went to
awesome.
college. I actually went to 3 colleges.
Okay, let's talk about them real quick.
Yeah. I went to Butler first because
Okay.
it was cheapest tuition. Right.
Absolutely.
And then, Butler at the time in 2007, you could actually get the certificate for, what was now called the LAC. Mm-hmm. It was like CADC back then, Certified Alcohol and Drug Counselor.
Gotcha.
They changed the credentials on it. I went over to Newman for a while. Newman's pretty expensive, but they had a career advancement program. Then I ended up at WSU.
Gotcha.
I worked at a place called a Tishwin.
Okay.
If you guys have heard of that.
I haven't. I have
Yeah.
no idea what that is.
So they're still up and running. I want to give a shout out
Educate
to
me
Jane
on
and
that.
Bill Vineyard, by the way. At Tishwin Institute, they do sober living still.
Wow.
But I got my start and my roots there, and I always give respect to Bill Vineyard. He's an icon. He's a legend, and he's still opening up that place over there in Hilltop.
That's awesome.
He has, on average, 15 people that live there. So
Oh, wow.
I think he still comes in and does treatment, but I got my start there. So I was an inpatient treatment counselor.
Okay.
At that time, I was a struggling counselor. I was still in school for a lot of it, right?
Understood. Yeah.
And I met up with Second Chance. We were doing ministry. So our life group from Life Church, right?
Which life church are you guys in?
West.
Okay, yeah.
I'm sorry, East.
East, okay.
Yeah.
For
We
sure.
built the West Campus. And in fact, when I met up with Life Church, they were meeting at Coleman Middle School.
No way.
Way back
I
then.
never knew that.
Yeah, so way
Never
back
knew
then.
that. Okay.
And we were doing a life group, and our life group was kind of a mixture of folks that were struggling with addiction
Yeah.
inside the church. And our goal was to mix the two of people in recovery that were kind of acclimated in the 12-step community, right?
Okay.
So our goal was to kind of mesh the two populations together. Anyway, Second Chance was doing a lot of ministry at that point. We wanted to feed the homeless. I asked them if I could use their parking lot, and
They said absolutely.
absolutely. So we fed hot dogs to the homeless once a month.
Yeah.
Right. And then fast forward years later, I was furloughed during COVID.
Okay.
Remember that?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I was furloughed.
COVID is so
How can you
weird.
forget?
It is, yeah. Everyone forgets
It's just
that we
like a
actually
weird
went through
time.
COVID, right? My daughter told me the other day, she's like, COVID's gone. I was like, where did it go, man?
It's so weird. One
like-
day you just wake up and you're told you can't go anywhere or do anything. That's weird.
That's what it was. So I was swimming every day, right?
Mm-hmm.
And met with Heath Duncan, the owner.
Yep,
And we were
absolutely.
friends at that point. And I was just doing a lot of marketing, you know?
Wow.
I was segued. I was in sales at that point. I was a telecom sales guy. I worked for Cox for several years. And at this little junction point, I was working for a private industry doing landlines for businesses. And we were furloughed. So we had a conversation. I started doing some marketing that turned into this kind of the creative, just the creative kind of options or whatever.
Yeah.
And I started going into treatment centers and things like that. And fast forward to a few months ago, I applied for my bonds license, and here we are.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So
I feel like when you get into like ministry and reaching out to the community, all you need to do is like one event and it'll change your life.
that's it.
It'll change the way you think about people. It'll change the way you treat people, all of that. But not only, you being there, but you being there with friendly faces, being
Right.
there with the team, it's definitely a game changer. Like once you do it once, you just can't stop doing it. You're always going to be involved.
No, I fully agree. That's how we met.
Yeah.
Yeah, we were doing events. I've got into event planning in the last few years, and I'd see you doing the videography.
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that's when worlds,
I think it's a really big deal because when you look back, one day I'm gonna be 80 years old, right? And I'm gonna look back and be like, man, there is a lot of stuff that I've accomplished. I feel like if you don't have it on video, that's just me, right? That sometimes you can forget about things that you're just involved
Yeah,
in.
absolutely.
Because in life we're always trying to like reach the next level, and you're always like chasing the next level. But just to sit down sometimes and be like, man, I've accomplished a lot. But not only me, but I've accomplished a lot with good people around me.
Yeah.
I think that's a big deal.
Well, not only that, for our kids to see that someday.
Yeah.
I'm huge
for
on
sure.
taking pictures, and
I am too, for sure.
yeah, Facebook Memories is good about it because it'll pop up and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, I totally forgot about that
Absolutely.
situation.
Yep.
So, yeah.
That's always neat. All right, so we're gonna bounce to you.
Hey.
You ready?
Yeah.
Let's do it. All right, so tell me about your background. What's up?
Yeah. So again, my name is Catherine. I just celebrated 8 years of sobriety. Yeah.
That's a
thank
huge
you.
deal.
It really is.
Ooh.
You know, I was watching a podcast of yours earlier, and
Okay.
you had two people here, and it said their shirt said "Stay sober" or "Be
Yeah,
sober."
yeah,
I
yeah.
loved that. I
Yeah.
loved that. And
Shout out
congrats
to
your guys'
Adrian Harding.
sobriety.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's amazing. I love that people are doing that in the community, and even though some people don't use the 12 steps, that's fine. You know, there's so many different avenues to recovery. The 12 steps are what have saved my life. Yeah, a little of my background.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Come on.
Yeah, so I was a good kid, you know, really good kid, never used any kind of drugs or alcohol.
Did you go to school here in Wichita?
I went to Mays.
Mays, gotcha.
Yeah, right
Okay.
outside of Wichita. And my brother died and my stepdad died within 2 years of one another. And
Oh wow.
yeah. And this was after I met you, because we met in 2006, and then my brother
I remember
died.
brother, but I don't remember the stepdad story.
Yeah.
Okay.
He died in an airplane accident.
Oh wow. Okay.
Yeah. And I didn't know how to deal with the grief, you know? It was too heavy. My mom was really struggling and my family was struggling. And so my response was to leave and start using substances and alcohol. And then it just progressed, you know? And the disease of addiction, which I believe is what we have, it affects the mind and the body and the spirit. And I wasn't focusing on anything but getting high, getting my next high, so I didn't have to feel everything that I was feeling. And it just continued to progress. And I started hanging out with the wrong crowd, the wrong people, and got myself into a lot of trouble, you know. Tried to get sober several times, would go back out. Didn't think that it was that big of a deal because I would go to meetings and people would talk about shooting dope and all of this. And I'd be like, well,
I'm not that bad.
I'm not that bad, you know?
I
Not yet.
Not
know
yet,
exactly
you
what
know?
you mean. Yeah.
And so I'd go back out and I'd drink, and then it would go to other dangerous substances. And eventually those yet lists happened, you know, and I became this person that I didn't even recognize anymore. And a lot of things happened. I went to prison, and I've been sober ever since.
How long were you in prison for?
7 months.
Oh wow. Didn't know that either.
Yeah, but it was my ticket out the game, you know, and so I'll always be appreciative of that experience. And I came back here and I just connected with people. I connected with people, got into a sober living house, and started my journey, my healing journey.
So let me ask you this: when you say both of y'all can probably talk about this. When you say, "Hey, yeah, I went and got my life on track," was there some what was the turning point? You know what I mean? Like, did somebody come and they're like, "All right, I'm really gonna help you out," or did you have the God moment, or did you like what? Because I feel like everybody gets to a point where we're doing our own thing, and then we're like, "Okay, this isn't working. I need to do something else," right?
Yeah.
And then what was that point?
Man, I've had many of those points.
Yeah.
But
sure.
my most recent one, I was on my way to prison and I had 1 foot in and 1 foot out. And I was talking with someone that was still in the game and he was trying to bond me out. And then I was also talking to my mom and my sister.
Oh wow.
Yeah. And my sister and my mom just poured into me, and I knew at this point that I had a choice. I had a choice to make, and my life was dependent on this choice. And it was going to look completely different if I chose the right or the left. And so I decided to stop contacting this person in the game and do my time in prison. And I got out, and during this time I had a surrendering moment.
Absolutely.
And
For sure.
my surrendering moment, surrender is when we let go of our resistance to love. And it's just God's will in my life is love. And the life that I was living prior to that was not of love at all. It was of ego and pride and just getting my next
Ego,
fix.
pride, control, all of that.
All of
Yeah,
that.
for sure.
All of that. And so
Absolutely.
that surrendering moment was my kind of awakening that, okay, I need to surrender my life, my control, and everything over to God if I want to continue doing the next right thing.
Yeah. That's dope. That's so dope, man. What about you?
That's powerful. She's such a light.
Yeah.
Right. I'm just so honored to be her friend. I really am.
Amazing, for sure.
I think that's a tough question that we all try to quantify, as recovering addicts. I want to say though, to everybody watching that, everybody's struggling with something usually, You know, we can find that. To
You're
this-
right, 100%.
You know, like that's
Absolutely.
what we found in the church. Is there are people that grow up in the church and they're stigmatized too because they've grown up in the church. So when we were doing our life group, we found that not everybody knows, not everybody has a voice that can speak up. You know, because they're so stigmatized.
Correct.
With religion,
Yeah.
right? That they don't feel comfortable. Like, oh, what if people find out I'm, you know, dabbling in drugs or I'm drinking? And so that was kind of our goal, and that's still my goal today, is to reach as many people as possible. So when people ask me, you know, what was the catalyst?
Yeah.
You know, I was a kid that grew up, you know, in the system. You know,
Okay.
I come from a long line of drug addicts and alcoholics. Wow. My mom, I always say, it probably took one of the first hits of crack cocaine in the 80s in Wichita. So, you know, we were exposed to that. The argument is always, well, is it environment or is it genetics? For me, I think it was both.
It could be both.
Yeah. So,
absolutely.
you know, by the time I was just telling the cats at Higher Ground, right, that by the time I was 17, I'd aged out of the system, you know.
Oh, gotcha.
So I was in a place
So what
called,
happens when you age out of the system?
well, for me, it was like I went back to Parallax. It was a treatment center back in the day.
Okay.
I don't know.
Gotcha.
I know you remember.
Yeah, I went there.
Right. Parallax used to be their,
Is that here in Wichita?
yeah.
It
Okay.
was.
It was like the old school treatment.
Okay.
Right. And some of the viewers are going to know, like, oh, yeah, I remember Parallax. Right. Well, Parallax used to be like the detox. Now SAC is the detox. But
Okay.
that was the solution. When I aged out of White Cow, you know, White Cat is the one in Topeka. Then I went to Parallax for like 2 weeks and I left. I wasn't ready.
Yeah.
By that time, I'd been selling drugs for years. I'd been making drugs for years, right?
For sure. Absolutely.
Running the streets. I mean, it was just an afterthought. I was just satisfying the court. 2 years later, I'm in prison with a prison number,
Golly.
you know?
How long were you in there?
I just did a 2-year bit, right, at that, but I took a plea for prison.
I got you.
And I had grown up in group homes and foster homes, so I was institutionalized at that
Yeah,
point.
for sure. Absolutely.
Probation wasn't even offered. So anyway, 2007 is when I got sober and I've stayed sober.
Wow.
By that time, I had an almost 2-year-old daughter, and I knew one thing, right, is that I didn't want to be the kind of parent, right?
Absolutely.
I never wanted to bring kids into this world, but I knew that something had to change, and it had to be me. And I knew that before I even got clean, but I didn't know how to do it. So I want to tell you, the short answer to that question is mine was a spiritual. My bottom was spiritual, right? But I didn't know that at that point. I don't think we know that until later on, and we're looking back a few years in the future, and then you're like, well, what was it? Because we're asked that question. I think at that point, you're just desperate. You're just
Wow.
You're just desperate for
Yeah. For something different.
Yeah, and for me, it was like, God, you can have everything, right? I don't, whatever I'm bringing to the table is
It
not
ain't
working.
working.
It's not working, you know. And for me, it was just that
Yeah.
complete, like, okay, you do whatever you want, and here we are today.
Wow.
This wasn't the plan. Bail bonds wasn't the plan, but God, if you can use it,
Yeah. Then I'm in.
then I'm in.
Man, that's a big deal. That's awesome. I remember. I'm gonna just tell just a real quick story, not too much information, but I remember I was at Rock Island filming a event, and I saw your sister there, and she came up to me. No, I think I came up to her and I said, I was like, "Hey, what's up? How you doing?" She looked at me. She was like, "I just want you to just pray for my sister," and like that was it. I mean, we had some other conversation, but that was really it. And I was like, okay, but I could tell on her face, it was one of those things like she really needs help at the moment. So I'm glad that you made the decision, and it's basically what I tell everybody. Like you said earlier, people are dealing with all types of stuff, but the battle is like you versus you. Like
Man.
you, and that's the hardest battle for anybody, right?
Right.
So it's like, yeah, I mean, you know, we all know how to like coast through things. Like people, they've been to the rehab centers, and you know all the boxes to check in order to be like, okay, I'm doing fine, or you know what I mean? Or you go to a counselor and you know how to kind of maybe brush the surface in order to, okay, I did my hour of counseling, I'm done for the day type deal, right? We all know how to check the boxes. It's like a job interview. Everybody knows how to go into a job interview and get a job. We all know what the person wants to hear, right? But then when you get the job or when you're in the hot seat, what are you doing?
How do you sustain it?
That's tough. So I thank you both for, you know, sharing that, because there's people watching here right now. They're in the same boat, right? They're in the same boat. They're in the same spot. They really don't. they want to change. They might not really know how to or they can. But the main thing that I always tell people is put that pride to the side, please. Because in the not even in the long run, let's just keep it honest. We need you, whoever you are watching, to be the best you that you can be.
Right.
We need that. The world deserves that. The world deserves the best version of you.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, success is measured, to me, in my experience, success is measured when I can go to bed at night and know that I use all of my strengths and qualities to help people.
That's amazing.
And if I'm not doing that in life, then I'm not being successful at what I'm doing.
Yeah.
Yeah, good is the enemy of best.
You're right.
You
That's
know?
good. I like that. Good is the enemy of best. So, and there's people who are out here willing to help in this community right now in Wichita.
Absolutely.
And no, man, I've heard all the stories. No, you can bring me anything. I'm not scared of any story, right? The only thing I want you to do is be the best for your family. Because as you get older, you start realizing everything that we was doing when we was younger, it doesn't even matter.
I want to touch on that just because I just left a group and I'm looking around the room at Higher Ground.
Yeah.
And you guys know, right? Every time that I go into one of these treatment centers, the age is younger and younger, right?
I bet. Oh,
and I remember
bet, for
being
sure.
that kid that you couldn't tell anything in these environments, but this generation, right? I mean, I can tell you all day that I changed because of my child at that point. I have another one too that's never seen that side, right?
Oh, wow.
Yeah, she's 15 this month. So I have a 15 and 20-year-old. And so, the 20-year-old has never seen most of that, right? The 15-year-old has seen none of it, right? Wow. And I'm thankful. Shout out to my girls, right? But, they've never touched a cigarette or a drop of alcohol at this point.
Wow.
Right. But where I'm going with this is, we talked about, the generations of kids and things, and they're just faced with challenges that we know nothing about out here.
Yeah.
The fentanyl is one thing that Catherine and I are super passionate about. And it's a drug I've never done. Right.
It's crazy right now.
Crazy. There's an 80%
Golly.
fatality rate for every time one of these folks does fentanyl. And it's the youth.
Yeah, all day. It's just so easy to get your hands on it. It don't cost nothing.
And it's not just fentanyl. Fentanyl is in cocaine. Fentanyl is in meth. Fentanyl is in weed. You never know what you're getting.
Right.
Yeah.
So, that's something that I think we all need to be cognizant about. We're working with organizations, and that's really, how this came about today is Kat told me, she's like, I'm going to go do the podcast. And, she invited me over, and thank you for letting me. But
Absolutely.
it's because we're partnering, and you're seeing a lot more, inclusion, interagency inclusion, because we all know that as a community, we've got to fight this fight for our youth, because they don't have the resources, and our government, and they're not putting the resources out because they don't see it as their problem. They see it as our problem.
Yeah.
And it is really, if you look at it, it's our problem, right? These are our youth. So we've got to set policies. We've got to hand out Narcan. We've got to
Correct.
hold events, that pass these things out and educate these. But first and foremost, I think that we've got to be models for change.
Wow.
So
let me ask you this. So you guys said you going to Life Church East or West right now?
East.
Okay. How long have you been going to Life Church East? It's been a minute because you said they were in that old school before.
Yeah, what's that been? 10 years now?
Wow.
Because we were going there back 6 years ago.
What keeps you going back to Life Church? Let me ask you that.
I'm gonna be really honest with you here.
Absolutely.
We've had some hiccups.
Okay.
Right?
Yeah,
Some of that's
sure.
personal accountability,
Understood.
So, Life Church, I think, it's got to be Craig, Groeschel.
He's awesome.
He's an awesome leader. If you haven't checked out his
He's
podcast,
awesome. For sure.
if you're a viewer out there, check it out. But, I think it's a very open church. I think that for me, I've always strived to look for a church because I didn't grow up with God. I grew up with an idea of God, right? But I didn't grow up with people that were actually practicing a relationship with Christ.
I understand that.
So I think what Life Church has taught me for the first time ever was that I'm included just as I am, right?
Absolutely.
It's a church that strives for, helping people become fully devoted followers of Christ as far as a personal relationship. And that really coincides with what some of us do in the 12-step community too. We're not a religious program in the 12-step community. We are a spiritual program. And that's so important for me as somebody that grew up without any knowledge of how to have an interpersonal relationship with any human being. You know,
Wow.
so
That's powerful.
yeah.
Understand?
So, you know, that's what I gain in Christ. And I think the church really exemplifies that. So,
Gotcha. Are you in church right now?
I'm not.
Okay.
And let me just tell everybody why. Okay, so I grew up in church too, and I mean, you guys realize now why I brought Quinn on. He's amazing, and seriously,
Shout out to Quinn.
Yeah, he lives out all the
appreciate
principles that he's sharing about, and
thank you.
I just appreciate him.
I appreciate you.
And he talks, so I don't have to talk that much. But appreciate that.
I'm long-winded.
So the temple of God is within me, you know, and
Okay.
I don't have to go to a building to seek this God. I can seek it within me, in my bedroom, in my meditation room. And meditation has been huge for me, huge, because I have to develop this relationship with God. And growing up in church, I feared God. I never knew that I could develop a relationship with this God.
It's just a whole bunch of do's and don'ts. Yeah,
Yes.
I understand
Yes.
that.
And if
Check-
I don't do
checklist.
this, I'm going to be going to hell. And I'm scared to go to hell. But spirituality has taught me that I've already been to hell. I have
Man.
already been to hell. And I made it back because of Christ and because of the teachings of Buddha. And I believe that there are so many different ways that lead to the same sun. And I've kind of taken things from each religion and placed it on my spiritual journey, and it works for me. And I feel connected with this God more than ever now. I've gone through sweat lodges, and that was my church for a long time when I first got sober, was going to these sweat lodges and just praying and surrendering. And I would go.
What is a sweat lodge?
You never heard of a sweat lodge?
I think I might know what it is, but educate me.
Let me tell y'all. So
Educate me.
sweat lodges are Native American.
Okay.
And so they're made of these, they're like huts, there's lodges, and it's made round like this to be the womb of Mother Earth. When you go into a sweat lodge, you get on your knees and you say a prayer, and you say it in Lakota is what I've said it, but it means all of my relations. And so as you walk in the middle of the sweat lodge, there is a hole, and 7 rocks are brought in during each session. So there's 4 different sessions.
Do the rocks represent days?
The rocks represent the like north, south, east, west, and the grandfathers of the earth.
Okay.
And you pour water on it, and the water helps to bring the steam and the heat. And the point of a sweat lodge is so that we suffer inside the lodge so that people outside don't have to suffer as much. And we
Okay.
do prayers, and I've had a healing sweat done. I had ovarian cysts and went through a healing sweat, and I have not had any ovarian cysts since then.
Okay.
It's amazing. I have felt my brother's presence in there. It's just a very spiritual thing where you just go in and you connect and you pray, and you suffer quite a bit, but you make it through those rounds, and you come out feeling so connected to yourself, to every living being, to the earth. I lay on the ground, and I have never felt so connected to anything in my entire life than when I left the sweat lodge and laid on the earth.
Oh wow,
Yeah, that's deep.
that's super deep. So what do they do? Like, where's this at?
I know of a personal one. He pours sweats in his backyard.
Oh, like here in?
Here,
Okay.
yep,
Oh,
right
wow.
outside of Wichita.
All right, never knew that.
Yeah.
Okay, for sure.
Yeah.
Didn't know.
Well, they were doing recovery sweats too for a while,
They
right?
were. Higher Ground was
Wow.
doing them.
Okay. Yeah, where I think people can come from the recovery community, and there may be somewhat of a filtering process. I think
Okay.
kind of a loose interview, if I'm not mistaken.
I don't know.
Huh. I know you've got to be pretty coherent.
Yeah, you kind of got to know what's
Right.
about to happen type
Yeah,
deal.
because it's
Yeah,
very
for-
spiritual.
Gotcha.
So
I mean, kids go to sweat lodges. Like the person that I know that pours the sweats, his daughter was in there at 2 months old, if
Wow.
I'm not
Oh, wow.
mistaken. And she's
We're
been
starting
sweating
early.
ever since then. And she's 18 now.
Gotcha.
wow.
Yeah, and she is.
I think that's something like that will
Beautiful.
build a heck of a community, man.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah,
Our
it has to
community
be
that we
like-
have is
Strong.
top notch. It is.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Well, they sweat in prison too. There's a call out, a Native American call out, where the call out is, for you guys that don't know, it's you got kind of your brand of religion that they allow you in KDOC at least, but there's people that sweat in prison too. So
Wow. I think that's dope. This is the first time I've ever heard about that.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about that.
I didn't either prior to getting sober and meeting this person that poured the sweat.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like when, as you grow up No matter what you grew up in, there's gonna be a time where it's like, all right, what's really real, right? What's really even if you've grown up and mommy and daddy have said this or grandma said this, I need to figure out what's real and what works for me, right?
Right.
So I love everybody's answers. 'Cause, I mean, I feel like we're all striving for the same thing, right? Like if you ask somebody, they're not going to be like, I'm trying to fail. I'm trying to wreck my life.
Right.
Nobody's ever going to say that. Everybody's trying to do better. So when, I'm getting answers like, this is what works for you. This is what works for you. I have stuff that's worked for me. You know what I mean? And you can't knock any of it. If that's what worked, then
absolutely.
hey, come on now.
Word.
There's definitely multiple ways. There's multiple communities. There's multiple things that you can do. So it all leads back to you versus you. How bad do you want it? Do you really want to get better?
How free do you want to be?
You don't want to, you don't want to be sitting around 50, 60, 70 years old and just like, I'm still stuck in what I was doing when I was a teenager.
Yeah.
It's just like, what have you been doing for the past 40, 50 years?
Right.
Yeah.
Well, and growth is about getting out of those dark, negative emotional patterns. And I've struggled with that a lot in my recovery, and just learning how to change and transform that experience of how I react and how I respond to life and to people, and to have tolerance and acceptance and
disciplines.
yes,
It's all part of growing up.
it is.
It is. It's all part of growing up. So let's end with this. Let's talk about this one more time. Again, Saturday, August 5th, there's a back to school drive right in front of the Second Chance building.
Yeah. Listen, I'll lead in with this. We're taking donations at Catherine's office with Valley Hope, and we're taking donations at the Second Chance office.
So you can go to Valley Hope or Second Chance. Okay,
absolutely.
sweet. Awesome.
Yeah, we've tried to make it really easy for people because we know that, there will be exposure and an audience from Valley Hope that may not necessarily coincide with us.
Correct.
So, and their location is out west by Town West Mall, right? And our location is downtown. So you may have folks that are hardly ever downtown.
Understood.
And then you have folks that are never out west. So we've tried to make it really easy. So we're going to really drive this on social media.
Absolutely.
This is a catalyst in that as well. But we would just really love your help and support and participation in the next week. We only have a few weeks, but we also, we didn't want to launch a long campaign.
Yeah.
We wanted to just kind of shotgun this and just see what the community could do. There's kids out there that are, they're struggling with some very basic things that we all take for granted.
Right.
I did research on kids in, not as wealthy communities, and a lot of them don't go to school because they don't have clothes to go to school in.
Man, that was me. That was me growing up. I was
Really?
dirt poor, and we had.
So is it like wearing like the same thing and then we just don't want to get made fun of, so we just don't go?
I had Pro Wings. Nobody remembers what Pro Wings are, but Pro Wings were, Fila was just coming out.
Yeah, but those are the shoes.
Shaq pumps were just, and I didn't have those. Other people had the Shaq pumps. I remember when I got
It's like the
first,
knockoffs.
Dude, I was an adult before I got my first pair of Jordans.
Wow.
And so, we just take so much for granted, but you're absolutely right. There's kids that will not go to school because of the phone that they have. We're going to.
Really?
Absolutely. Every kid has a phone nowadays, right?
Didn't even think about I've never thought about
because we
that.
take it for granted.
Yeah.
You and I,
Absolutely.
these are first world problems, but there are kids 100% that at the very least, if they are in school, they're not as engaged because they're comparing. We know comparison is the thief of joy, right?
Absolutely. 100%.
Our job as, citizens of this world and God's kingdom is to give people joy. I mean, what better way than to, maybe help a kid? So
That's awesome.
used items are welcome too. We're not asking people to go out and break the bank here. Just what you can contribute.
Yeah, whatever you have.
Yeah. So
That's awesome. For sure.
August 5th, we'll do the event. At the event, we'll have food, we'll have music, we'll have vendors.
Okay.
To be determined on who the vendors are, but 100% the nature of the event is to make sure that we have the volunteers. We need volunteers as well in place to make sure that backpacks are filled and that people are getting the supplies that they need.
That's awesome.
So
Absolutely. And I do just want to add that Valley Hope, we do have 24/7 admissions. If you're looking for help, if you
wow.
are struggling and you don't know where to go, Valley Hope will take you. My phone number, you can call me and I will get you connected to someone in admissions. My phone number is 620-747-2958. Please contact me. There is help and there is hope for you.
and it's on the flyer too. We're a community partner with Valley Hope as well, so we're just really excited about the work that you guys do. So
We're excited about the work that you guys do.
thank you.
Very proud of you guys.
And that's awesome. All right, we're going to wrap it up. This is another episode of Humble Talks. Thank you guys so much. Subscribe, sorry. And then down below, I'm going to have y'all's information so
All right.
people can go ahead and tap in with you guys.
That-
Sound good?
Yeah.
Sounds great.
All
Thank
right.
you, Anthony.
Appreciate you guys.
Yeah.